all of this. From this workshop. So maybe in the chat, you could just write out one or two of the pain points. I mentioned two, but if there are any other pain points that you can remember that we discussed the other day, just write them out. These can be for customers in general or for women specifically. We talked a bit about specific pain points that women may face that male customers might not. So just write out in the chat one or two of the pain points that you remember from Tuesday. We see need for convenience. We talked about convenience and we talked about proximity to banks or FSPs. Affordability and fees was definitely something that came up. And the collateral, I'm glad that that you mentioned that. Wow, you guys are remembered a lot of the pain points. This is great. Collateral was something that we talked a lot about, and something that is typically specific is typically a pain point that women experience at a higher degree than men do. So because of rules, social norms, laws, and other types of the way systems are set up, women typically don't own as many assets or don't have access to as many assets as men do. So this can be a barrier, especially when they show up at the bank and collateral requirements are what they are. So it can be very difficult. And literacy, we talked a bit about that, both digital and financial. So customers will have varying degrees of understanding and awareness and of both how to operate their phones. So if you're talking about a new digital product or service, you want to make sure that you consider all levels of digital literacy. And the same goes for financial literacy. There are going to be a lot of people with a lot of varying understanding of how financial systems work, of how the products work. So you really want to make sure that when people are taking on a loan, for instance, they really truly understand what the repercussions of that are, both in terms of payment and repayment, but also that, what it means and what it can offer. This is great. I'm so glad that there was such a high recall on various pain points. I think we can, we talked a bit about this, so I think we can move on to the next slide. Yeah, so Lagos, do you want to take over bringing us into the prototypes?
Please go ahead with the prototypes.
I'm sorry, Emmanuel, I didn't hear you.
Hi, Catherine. Ibukun will be sharing the prototypes.
Ah, great.
So who is walking us through them, Emmanuel? Or do we?
So each of the team, they have leaders.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so let's prompt the teams to talk, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So group one, there are two all Lesotho, sorry. Can any one of you just walk us through? Lesotho, are you here?
Yes, I'm here, Emmanuel.
Okay, please, over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, people. To start with, our savings product name is called IPA. So we developed a prototype on the USSD based not app application. So
sorry, before you continue, sorry, Ibukun, can you please zoom in? So yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so the first one there is our menu where you start 123# to log in into our USSD, and then that will take you choose an option there that will take you to the welcome screen to Data. Now you have to choose whether you are a new user or an existing user, depending. So on this one now we went with the new user, whereby now you click that new user or you select option 1. Now it takes you to the next screen, which is enter your details to open an account. Then you have to choose the account name, your phone number, your date of birth, your address, the state or the district where you come from, and then you also give the gender, and then you send or you exit if you don't wish to continue. Now, if you send that, it will take you to the next screen, which is now the account opening. Now it will give you the your account number. Already give your account number, which is XX0XX, and then you press 1 to continue to set up your PIN, or press 2 to sign out. Now, if you continue now on this one here, I'm not sure. Okay, can everybody see my mouse? I don't know if I have control access, but I don't think I have. If you are the existing user, now you choose from these two options to enter your PIN or to cancel if you don't wish to continue. And then if you press or you choose option 1, you have to enter your PIN and then you send. And then it will take you to the next screen, which is welcome with your name, and then we have the options there, or the menu 1 to 6, which is account balance, set target for savings, you transfer, you make utility payments, you can make airtime purchase, and then there's also a financial literacy, or you can select 0 to go back or 00 to exit. Now we have the next one there. It's our menu under setting the target for your savings, where you set the target amount. This is the amount the customer wishes to have at the end of the savings period. Let's say, for example, you want to save 10,000. That's the target amount there at the end of, let's say it's for 12 months, for argument's sake. You want to have 10,000 at the end of the 12th month. And then the savings amount, this is where now the customer has to calculate. In the example I made, if they want to make 10,000, you divide that equally by 12 months to get your savings amount per month, or you divide it weekly by number of weeks in a year to get your weekly contribution, depending on the frequency the customer has chosen, from weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, and bi-monthly. And then you save that. When you save that, then it will give you the congratulations screen with your name, now communicating to you that your target has been updated. Now the next one, if you want to exit from that screen of where you set the target, now to take you back to the main menu. And now if you go to option 3 in on our menu, which is transfer, it will show you that the first thing to display on that screen is the source account, or your account number, your savings number. And then you can select the beneficiary or input that, and then the transfer amount and the reference. Then you save that, or you cancel if you don't wish to continue. If you save that, now the next screen, it will show you your transfer has been completed successfully. That means now you have completed your transaction. Now the next one on the menu is utility payments, whereby now you have electricity and water, those two options. Whichever one you select, it will show you that whether you have to choose whether it's a prepaid, and then you input the meter number and the amount, and then you save that request, and then it will give you a success message. Your bill payment has been completed successfully. And then moving on to option 5 on the menu, which is airtime purchase. We have two options in our case here, which is Econet and Vodacom airtime purchase. And then if you select either one of those two, now it will give you the screen where you have to input the amount, and then you save After saving, you get the success message where airtime purchase has been completed and successfully. So yeah, the financial literacy, we didn't do that one in as much as it's an issue, but I found it a bit tricky to put that on the USSD platform. So we kind of left it for now. Yeah, I think that would be the end of our prototype there. Thank you very much. Hello.
No, Madam Hassan, I think you are clear.
Okay, thank you, Larry.
Okay, great. Well, group one, I'm so excited to, I was a little bit a part of this group, and so heard some of these ideas. So it sounds like it was a bit of a combination of commitment savings product and then thoughts about financial literacy training and how to incorporate those. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so I think I like the part about the target savings there I see on the boxes on the screen. And I think one thing that could be really impactful and helpful is to think through, well, how do we continue the message going? So, people could put in what their goal is. They could write in a text message, well, this is to save for a house or my child's education, or another long-term saving strategy. And you could through text messages, people could be reminded, did you right before their payment is due, text an SMS message could pop up, well, did you do your 1,000 Marutu savings this week, to remember to save for your child's education, or something like that. I think those kinds of, you can combine a lot of the different techniques or learnings that we've had, so that you can make the messaging really strong. So you can have the original message of what are you saving for? Here's what it's going to be, and then have reminders all along the way so that people are brought along in the process and that they're reminded repeatedly of what their goal is. And I think on the financial literacy, it is very tricky. It's very hard to figure out exactly what do we want to teach people, what is the best technique for teaching them. There's a lot of research and a lot of work that's been done on financial literacy over the last several decades, and it is very difficult to do on in text message or things like that. So I think the bank can continue to think about ways to in a commitment savings product, what are the main learnings that you want customers to take away? Is it that what the savings can do for them long term, how something like interest works? You can, have just one or two financial literacy goals from this particular product that then are bigger, that can fit into a bigger picture financial literacy course or something like that would be one idea. I want to open it up to other groups though. Are there other questions that any of the other groups have for this new commitment savings product? Any other thoughts, ideas? Yes, Shalay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just want to ask, firstly, yeah, good work, team. That's a very nice presentation you have here. I just want to ask, can you identify from the, can you just tell us what was the pain points of your customer, and in your presentation, where do you think you tried to address any of them? Thank you.
Great, team one, group one, do you want to respond?
Thank you, Dr. Shale. I think our client had issue of savings. So he was not sure of how he can save and where he can save. So the idea here was to address the matter of savings So that's why under the set savings target, we have a savings account that client was advised to use. So the main issue was the issue of saving. He had an ultimate goal of purchasing a car and a house after some time. So this product will assist him to achieve his goal. I think that was the main issue. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ndati.
Any other questions or comments about the savings product? What do people think of the name? No other questions. Okay, well, maybe we can move on to group 2 then. As Ibukun gets group 2's prototype set up, who wants to speak from group 2 to present your ideas?
All right, I will take it.
Great.
My name is Seiso. All right, for group 2, the customer pain points that we are addressing through our solution, one is proximity and convenience. We want to make sure that we enable farmers to manage their workspace quite easily and conveniently. We want to make sure that they do farming in style. They no longer have to do farming through hard labor. This we do by enabling the latest technology on the market under artificial intelligence. And then what we also do is we want to enable them to access banking services quite conveniently by making sure that everything that they ever need, they are able to do through a smart app. And we also ensure that we provide financial expertise as a bank to them based on their goals. By this, it's through analyzing their income, the money they deposit, money they withdraw, money they leave within the bank. We try and align that with their financial goals. And we also enable them to apply for loans online, and which is quite convenient. And we cut their costs by ensuring that they literally don't have to call the bank staff every now and then to try and find out how far their application is, but they can actually track the loan application through the same app. And we also try to deliver financial literacy training to them that is pre-recorded and that is available offline, that they can access at their own convenience. So you can go down. So the prototype that we've got there, it's an agribusiness banking app, so which they can download from any reputable online store and deploy on their smartphone. And we enable them to access the app through biometrics or username and password. The biometric feature is just to make sure that where, for instance, one forgets their username and password, they are not restricted. They can still use the biometric option. So as soon as you land within the app, you get a welcome message, which outlines your business name or customer name, the date and time when you would have logged in into such an app. Then we've got the 3 menu items: the field monitoring, financial management, financial literacy training. As you go down, after clicking the field monitoring, you get the sub menu there, the field operations, real-time insight, and the market tracking, agriculture, news, and the contact bank. So we shall expand the sub-menus as we go down. Under financial management, we've got the income breakdown based on what you would have deposited, the expense breakdown based on expenses that you would have incurred, and also withdrawals that you would have made. savings goal, which is what you are trying to save for, and where our expert advisory service will be based on. The loan application, they make payments whenever you need to make transfers. Let's go down. So under field operations, as I've previously mentioned, we have roped in artificial intelligence. This is where now we shall be funding farmers with greenhouses. Within the greenhouse, we fund them to have automated watering system and the pesticides systems. So through the same app, you can actually schedule on a daily basis at a particular time, and you go under the watering system and you activate this through your smart app, and the system will activate on the field because it's got sensors, and then it will water your crops for the duration that you would have set. Then for pesticides, when it's time to apply it, then you would be in a position to release that through the same technology that would have funded our farmers with. For staff management, for minor labor work that gets done, we are able to track the staff by making sure that the farm owner doesn't have to keep a lot of records written on paper, but we check that through the same app. The yield record, we are able to keep track of profit that you make, or in fact the expenses that you incur per acre, the yield that you make per acre as well, which then will help you to compute the profit that you make per acre. So storage containers, as you know, farmers must keep whatever they would have gathered as their yield from the field. We keep track of how our storage containers are. If they are full, then it says we've got to sell whatever we have and take it to the market. So under real-time insight, this is where now we apply sensors through the technology that we deployed on the fields, where we monitor crop growth. And by this, you can actually get to know how your crop is actually doing. The monitored temperature, you monitor the temperature as well, because we have greenhouses which must be highly regulated in terms of temperature control. The monitoring of the water level, we do that because we have the watering system, so we are able to control the water level. We have solar power deployed there as a cost-effective solution, because normally you wouldn't invest towards installation of electricity on the field. Solar is usually the way to go. So let's go down. Under the market tracking sub-menu, this is where we enable the buyer to meet the seller. We make sure that we enable the farmers to know about potential buyers locally within the market that we have, and we enable them to know who would be interested in buying their produce. We also give them access to market rates in terms of them realizing that if we sell to so and so or to this type of business, then this is how much we can get. So we also, via Google Map, enable them to be in a position to know who's closest to them, to mitigate against the risk of having to travel for 50 Ks or 100 Ks to deliver whatever it is they will be selling. So there's also the contact bank option in case they need someone from the bank to talk to them. So under agricultural news, we have linked through the same solution access to the local agricultural news. So we enable our clients to be in a position of knowing what is really happening around them. And we also give them access to the world news. This is not a subscription-based service. We actually use free website that keeps such information and we share it with our clients. Let's just go to the last page. Under contact us, this is where now for any type of assistance that the farmers would need, we enable them to know from where they are, the nearest branch they can contact, nearest ATM machine they can go to in case they want to withdraw money, nearest agent they can contact, and the contact bank option is there as well in case they need to speak to someone at the bank. If you go under the income breakdown, this is where now our app enables them to show them how much they've cashed in, how much they've deposited, how much they've withdrawn, and we put a summary based on the period, and it can be monthly, it can be quarterly, it can be annually. Then we have an option of giving them the financial expert advice. This is where now we're trying to align their financial goal with money that came in and money that went out. And we are able to provide them on an individual level in terms of saying what is it that they need to do to keep aligned with their financial goal. So as you go down under the expense down, this is where we say for farmers, they need to know their seed expense, fertilizer expense, chemical expense, machinery expense, land expense, labor expense. This we arrive at through analyzing the monthly, in fact, the daily transactions that they perform. So we are able to actually categorize based on various expenses that are listed here. So under the loan application, this is where we're saying they can apply instantaneously for an agri loan. They can actually check their loan status once they've submitted their loan application, and they can contact the bank. So whenever they apply for a loan, we don't usually burden them with too much paperwork. We have their financial statements. We are able to analyze how they do their banking, and we are able to profile them such that we are in a position to even provide a pre-approved agri loan for them that they don't literally have to wait for days or even weeks or even months. So is this the last one? Can you go down? Is this the last?
That's the end.
No, that's the end of it. Thank you very much.
Okay, wow, this is really comprehensive. You've thought of a wide range of products and services. I presume this is on it sounds like this is on a smartphone. Is that correct?
Yes, that is the case.
Okay.
And remember what we've highlighted is we shall be onboarding farmers, and as we onboard you, we give you a welcome package which includes a smartphone, which is not going to be your high-end smartphone, just a phone that is good enough to run the app and enable you to do all these features and apply them in your day-to-day business operations.
Okay. So my question is, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about your target segment or your target population. So obviously farmers, and if they don't have to have a smartphone before, are there other kinds of minimum requirements that people would need? So I would imagine, like what about digital literacy or financial literacy? You mentioned that there would be trainings. Are there other types of, like, who exactly is your target segment, and are there sort of minimums that people need to meet in order to be eligible for this?
Okay, that's how you come in here, and then that is so our target market. We looking at women groups, hence we have tried by all means towards ensuring that they don't do the hard labor. We automate work through technology by making sure that whether they are at the fields, they are off the fields, they are in a position to know exactly what is happening at the fields. Even if it's late, you can't even go to the field. You'll be in a position through the smart app to do anything you would normally do if you are physically at the field. And from there, the target is come in that.
Okay, Nadamasi. No, I think you were correct by saying our target customers are the women in agriculture. So hence we have developed this app which should assist in addressing their pain points.
Terrific. Let me open it up to anyone else. Any other questions or comments? I see Bokena said that the presentation is great. She has some follow-up questions. You want to ask in person, Bokena, live?
No, thank you. Big up to Crypto. It's quite a good presentation, but I'm trying to understand where we stand or where we are as the bank, and this particular presentation that you did. Is it how long, maybe what are you looking at in terms of the time frame? By when would you perhaps say we could do that? And yeah, I think maybe let me just leave it there. In terms of the time frame, is it a 1 year type of a product, like the app, you know? How far into the future were you looking?
Well, my teammates will address the business side of things, but from a technology standpoint, this is doable within a year, because we're looking at the app development, we're looking at the acquisition of the various components to be used at the field, which are normally available, which is technology that is normally available on the market for mass enrollment. And so these are items that pre-exist on the market. So it's just a matter of acquiring them and beefing up the internal business arm towards ensuring that we've got staff that is clued up with what needs to be done in terms of them understanding and supporting the farmers in as far as the business that we are pursuing and the product that we are trying to push on the market is concerned.
Okay, Chalet, you have a question as well?
All right, thank you. Can I maybe well, before I can ask, hey, let me say what a presentation, phenomenal. That's one of, it's very beautiful. I'm just failing to get the product. Are we looks more of an interface than of a product, unless you can just let me understand where the product comes in. Thank you.
Okay, Nadeshar. Like we have indicated, our target market is the women in agriculture. So we have tried to come up with the app which will address their challenges. Remember, we talked about the proximity, the financial literacy, and the collateral. So that means this app is going to make things easier for them to operate. They'll be able to learn about the agricultural products, about the markets. That means they will be learning a lot from this app. They'll also be doing the loan applications on their app, which is also something which we don't want the customers to go to the branches to do the applications. So we wanted to make the life easy for these ladies or the women in agriculture.
All right, clear.
Great. Well, thank you so much for spending the time and thoughtfulness on designing this. I think you've got some great ideas here, and I hope to see them executed at the bank itself. Okay, group 3. While Ibukan gets up our presentation, does somebody from group 3 want to present? Great. Anyone from group 3?
Oh, sorry. Good afternoon. Yeah, so we are group 3, and the product name that we have is Masendla Savings and Credit. The purpose of this is to address issues that women have or challenges around financial matters. So if you want is to solve or address women financial challenges regarding access to credit, collateral requirements, and income volatility issues. So product description there is Masendla is a saving and credit account for financially active. Now that will look into women that are in business or those that are employed and therefore salaried from rural and urban areas, earning monthly income that's between 1,000 and 10,000. So the product features here, we were looking to have no monthly fees, free deposit fees, and then we intend to have this product that is going to earn interest from a balance of as little as 5,000 maluti. And so we are going to say that your balance can actually, or whatever credit in there, or rather the balance that you have could be used as collateral when you are in need for a loan or credit. So basically that's about our product and the prototype. Then we will get Datekele to go through it. Thank you. Datekele, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Mebokang, and good afternoon to everyone. So basically, this is where you will or our customers would access our product. Obviously, through our financial education program, we would have educated our customers on ways of saving and credit, and then given them a solution of this beautiful product, Masendla, to say it is available on the LTD app. So the first screen that you would see on the app would be this first one, which would give you an option of logging in or of registering for mobile banking, and then of opening an account. So this one of opening an account would then prompt you to the second. Oh, sorry, I just got a message that I'm not audible.
No, I think on my side, I think that's an issue with that person, because we are clear on my side.
Everyone else is clear.
Yes, even on my side, I can hear that again.
Okay, no, thank you. So the next stage would then be the second screen, which would give you options of savings, transactional accounts, investments, and loans. So as indicated by Mebokang, this is Masendla savings and credit product. Therefore, a customer would then go to savings, which would then lead to the third screen. These are the options that they would find, Masendla being the first one and Mokolokotwane being the second one. So they would then press Masendla, which would then take them to the fourth screen, which is a screen to populate your ID number. So in this case, then we would have integrated our system with the Home Affairs system. So the moment you enter your ID number, you would get return information automatically, which would populate your full name, date of birth, gender, and then nationality automatically. So after that, then you would be prompted to enter your monthly income. And then we would obviously need your KYC. So it would be in the form of an ID, proof of income, and proof of residence, which you would then easily press on this camera icon to say, obviously, if you have hard copies there at home, you would then take images of your ID, and then it gets uploaded, your proof of income, which would get uploaded, and then the proof of residence, which would also get uploaded. And then you press submit, and then you get a return screen, which would have your account number of the Masentle savings and credit product. And then a little congratulation message there to say that you have successfully opened this particular account. And then if you still need further information on this account, then you would be provided with contact details or our website. So yeah, this is basically a run through the product and how people would actually access it. Thank you so much.
Great. I like that the on the USSD menu that the product is named, so it really resonates with clients, and I like the camera feature. So being able to take photos of the ID and of all of the other KYC requirements, I like that. So it really makes it as easy as possible for people. Are there other questions for group 3? Other questions, other comments? Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the, so you mentioned the pain points you're trying to solve and the target segment. Have you thought about any of the other kind of behavioral economics nudges or any of the other ways to entice customers and ways to think through how to continue their engagement? Do you have any other, beyond onboarding, do you have any other continuation of customer engagement through the journey?
Well, part of what we're going to do is to ride on the existing financial literacy programs that we already have, that we would then throw Masentle into it and make sure that we probably talk about it there and show the benefits of using it, but under that particular program, which is normally driven by marketing, I think. So that is one other aspect that we're going to do.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, really interesting. And I like the screenshots. Nice job. Any other questions for group 3? Questions or comments or ideas? No. Okay. So what I think is so interesting about, you can always jump in if anyone else has any questions, but what I think is so interesting at this stage is, we're, where we started, we all started at the same place. Everybody split up into 3 different groups over the course of these workshops and sessions. And we've come up with 3 very different ideas, 3 different market segments, 3 different pain points to address, 3 different ways to do them. And so I think it's really interesting that we all took these big brainstorming ideas with, lots of either wild and crazy ideas and drilled them down. And we have differences, but there are also quite a lot of similarities, as we had talked about the other day, that there are a lot of things that we actually see as sort of the backbone of what we're trying to achieve. So there's a focus on very particular segments. In I think 2 out of 3 of these, we talked about women's savings groups and women's agriculture groups. So I think that's really interesting and important that is a focus of everybody on this call. Financial literacy was brought into the conversation in all of these cases as well. And I think trying to solve very particular pain points was also really interesting. So you've all thought about ways that customers have trouble. So whether it's through IDs, through access to smartphones, or through making that commitment to actually steer, continue on with their goals. So I think that these are learnings that we see throughout all 3 groups, and are really great that there's both these similarities and both these ways of thinking that all the groups have, but that you have different approaches to them. And so I think one of the key takeaways here is that everybody has a different learning, has a different approach, has a different way of doing things, but that at the end of the day, you're all trying to achieve the same goal. So it's fantastic. I mean, if all 3 of your groups came together, you would probably come up with one, really super product. And that's what we're trying to show case through human-centered design, is different ways of approaching the same problem or the same goal that you've all identified within the organization. So this is very exciting. Thank you so much for taking the time to work on the prototypes, to think about them so carefully, and then to do such a great job in showcasing them. I'm very excited that we came here after only a few sessions together. I do want to very quickly turn it over. We've had a kind of a surprise guest on the phone this morning. So Deirdre Fair-James is actually on the call. She's been listening in. She's from MCC, which is the Millennium Challenge Corporation. They're actually our funders who have made this workshop possible. And I think she wanted to say a few words today. Deirdre, are you?
Yes, I am here. Yes, no, thank you so much. I just want to apologize. My camera is not on. I've got a lot going on. It's early morning here in DC, but just wanted to say that I was so pleased that I could join for this last session, and I'm excited about the potential for all of these products and how the training really came together. As Kate said, my name is Deirdre Fair-James. I am a director in our finance, investment and trade group. And we've been working with the LMDA team over the last, now I guess it's 4 years almost, because we started in 2018, working on the compact, the second Lesotho compact, and which we hope to sign this year. And we do have a part of the compact that focuses on the business enabling environment, as well as technical assistance. And we are looking at these issues around how can we help financial institutions within Lesotho better help businesses with access to credit issues. And so we look forward to, we've engaged with Postbank back before the pandemic, when I was able to travel to Lesotho. I got a chance to meet with Postbank, a couple of people from Postbank a couple of times. And so I'm excited to see that things have progressed in terms of developing these products. And I look forward to hopefully getting out there this year and continuing those conversations. So, again, congratulations on the great work. And I look forward to connecting with you all. Thanks.
Okay. Terrific. Are there any other questions or any other thoughts to wrap up the prototype sharing? Are there any questions for Deirdre? No? Oh.
Well, thank you so much that you could make time to join us. It's wonderful to hear that you've been active in helping identify maybe the challenges, and so we hope we're leaving a mark on our presentations, and it gives you a feel that, you know, when you come back, there is something to work with. So surely, yeah, we're excited, or I am excited that you would be coming soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So I think we're ready to move on to the next phase of the workshop. Lagos.
Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. Can you all hear me?
Good afternoon.
Yes, afternoon, sir.
Great. I think you've all done excellently well. I mean, I've been, yes, hello. I've been listening and watching with very keen excitement. I've looked through your exciting solutions, and I think you've all done excellent work. So what we're now going to be discussing in phase 3 is how to actually evaluate and optimize your solution. Next slide, please. Now, the 3 critical things we actually want to, ask and answer in the overall HCD process is, what problem are we trying to address? So the inspiration helps us understand and appreciate the problem we're trying to address. The ideation process takes us through a process that creates this product, fleshes out the concept, builds out the prototype, tests the prototype. Now, the next question is, how do we know it's working? How do we actually know that this solution is working, or that this solution is yielding the results for which it was intended? Next slide. Now, in evaluating and optimizing your solution, what you're essentially trying to ask and answer, next slide, is, how do I identify the appropriate internal data points that help me understand the performance of my product? So firstly, I'm not just launching or creating a product for the purpose of launching or creating a product. I, as a financial institution, have an objective for the market. So there's something I want to achieve in the market. And then over and beyond that, as I am fulfilling goals for my customer, I am also fulfilling goals for my bank. So this goal I want to achieve for my customer should also benefit my bank. It should increase my profitability. It should increase my liquidity. It should reduce my vulnerability to shocks. It should enhance my performance. It should improve my debt performance, etc. So you also need to define the cycles in which you're actually going to carry out these periodic reviews, where you're going to evaluate your solution and where you're going to ask questions like, is this solution actually yielding optimal results? Is it fulfilling the purpose for which it was intended? Am I going to be reviewing every week, every quarter, every month, every half year, or every year? What's going to be my typical review cycle? And what are the considerations that would inform or determine what those review cycles will be? And at the end of the day, it's very important that you ask the right questions that matter. So the first is process evaluation. You want to ask the question, does this solution work as intended? Is this solution delivering the results for the customer that we intended? Is it yielding the results? The next is impact evaluation. Did it achieve its impact goals? So impact goals could include type of impact, magnitude of impact, timing of impact. And then the third is cost effectiveness. Given the cost and magnitude of the impact, how does it compare to other alternatives, both for you as a financial service provider and for the customer? So these are all the types of indicators you actually want to measure to help you make sense of the performance of the product overall. To also help convince you that this product is working, and also help inform decisions as to what additional or incremental investments you make in enhancing the performance overall of this product or solution. Next slide. Now, in evaluating and optimizing your solution, one thing you actually want to do is you want to collect stories and insights, and you want to keep talking to customers to actually discover more insights for product improvement. So remember, HCD is incredibly iterative. So even when you think you've gotten it right, you need to keep working on it, you need to keep enhancing, you need to keep improving, you need to keep optimizing. Next slide. Now, what are key performance indicators? A key performance indicator is a measurable indicator, a measurable quantitative value that helps you determine how effectively a solution is fulfilling the key objectives for which it was created. So the first question you want to sort of try to ask and answer is, why was this product created? What are the key reasons why this product was created and launched? The second question you want to ask and answer is, how well is this product performing vis-a-vis goals that were set for this product? The next is, what's going to be my measurement cycle? How do I ensure that I measure it along the lines and the cycles that help me understand how this product is actually yielding and solving problems for the customer? So am I going to be measuring it every week, every month, every day, every quarter, every year? Now, why is it important to constantly measure and optimize your solution? It's important because it helps you identify variances. So whether it's volume variances, value variances, process variances, all of that are points, are flagging points that sort of help you go back to your solution and force you to rethink and ask, what do I change in the process? What do I change in the inputs? What do I change to enhance the outcomes? So you're launching and introducing a new solution, and you're asking questions like, how many people, how many members of the target market are actually adopting the product? This product is for teachers. If I have 1,000 teachers in this particular market segment, how many of these teachers have adopted this product? Now, when you measure adoption, the next question you want to measure is use. If this product has 4 or 5 use cases, how many of those use cases have been employed or utilized by the target customers? Which ones are used more? Which ones are used less? And why? The next question you want to now ask is impact for the customer. So if this is a product that is expected to help customers improve their savings, scale up their savings, or improve the performance of their crops, or enhance working capital for trading, what impact has this product had on the customers overall? Can I convincingly say that this product has helped customers generate an additional $1 million in revenue in 1 year? And then also, how has this product impacted the bank? Has this product helped me generate more revenues? Has it helped me generate less? And to what degree has this product also enhanced my prospects, my financial performance as a bank? So all of these patterns will emerge once you identify the right types of process, outcome and input KPIs to measure. So next slide. So we're going to go into an activity now. And each of the groups will pick these prototypes they've developed. And I will enjoin you all in your breakout groups to actually create KPIs for these solutions. So remember, the types of KPIs you create will be 3. Input KPIs, process KPIs, output KPIs, and then impact KPIs. And remember, impact should be what? Impact both on the customer as well as impact on the bank. What was this product intended to do for the customer, and what is this product intended to do for the bank? How is this product expected to enhance the performance of the bank? So before we move into our breakout groups, I don't know, do you have any questions? Any questions? Ramakopoi, Kmotso, Lesole, Sechabat Lai, any questions?
No, Lesole is covered.
Really? Are you sure of that?
Nothing from my side, Ndadi Monso.
Great, 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 great. Ramakopoi, what about you?
Well, nothing from me.
Great, great, great. Bokang, are you good too?
Yes, I'm super good. Thank you, Dot.
Excellent, Bokang. Excellent, excellent. I'm super excited.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah, Sakaba, please go ahead with your question.
Okay, you did mention that we need to know the impact of the solution to the customers.
Correct.
And I'm asking myself, how are we going to measure that impact?
That is a very good question. That's a very good question. Now, the best way to measure the impact is to define the indicators that would help you measure the impact, and you go ahead and ask the customers the impact. So if this product is a product that is expected to help 50 customers increase their revenues by $1,000 each in a month, so you do a baseline assessment and you ask them, what are your revenues? You do a 1 month post deployment treatment after utilizing this product for 1 month, and you go back and ask them, what is your revenue now? And then you are able to estimate to what extent has that product been responsible for the growth of their revenues. That way, you are now able to estimate the impact of the product on their revenue, on the growth of their revenues. So once you define the indicators, the next level of defining an M&A framework is to determine how do I collect the data for these indicators. Sachaba, is that helpful?
Thank you.
Great. So you have to make those investments in going to ask. You have to deploy field officers that will go and ask the customers, or you use online electronic survey tools to ask those questions. Because if you don't ask those questions, you will not be in a position to actually tell to what extent your solution is solving the problem. All right. So Ibuku, how many breakout groups are we going to have?
3.
3.
Yes.
Great, great, great. So I think we should all move into our breakouts now. How long do we have for this breakout activity? And what do randomized control trials help us achieve? They help us measure carry out an impact evaluation on the population that is actually adopting or consuming a new product we have actually introduced. And what we typically do is, in a randomized control trial, we have a control group, and then we have a treatment group. You apply the treatment, or you deploy the product to a treatment group, and then you have a control group, and then you are sort of able to measure, because you randomly select the samples that will go into either of these groups. And then when the period of the measurement elapses, you are now able to find out how the product has impacted on the group for which it has, it was actually intended. Can you go to the earlier slide, please? So a randomized evaluation actually helps us test the effectiveness of a new product, the effectiveness of a new program. However, we always need a comparison group. Without a comparison, our knowledge is limited as to knowing what would have happened without the product, or what would have happened without the program, because sometimes we may ascribe certain improvements or certain changes in behavior, in income profile, in savings behavior to products we've introduced, without actually isolating all other factors that may be collectively impacting the consumers at that point in time. So what a randomized control trial will do is that it will help us actually establish with clarity what the impact of that new product is. Next slide. So when you're actually trying to select a comparison group, it's very important you select a group that is exactly like the group you're actually applying the product or the treatment to. So if you're actually designing a product for farmers, the control group as well as the treatment group have to be farmers. If they are farmers who are mid-tier farmers that have farms of 10 acres, you have to ensure that the control group and the treatment group are exactly the same type of target respondents. And the reason for that is that you want to actually compare apples for apples and oranges for oranges. You want to ensure that any difference is directly attributable to the treatment you're actually applying to the treatment group. You don't want to get overwhelmed, or you don't want to be ascribing changes that may not be changes attributable to the product or service that you're introducing. So you can see the schematic. There's usually a treatment group that receives the intervention, and then a control group that does not receive the intervention. Next slide. Now, there are multiple types of randomized control trials. So you could actually have the rapid fire randomized control trials, or the welfare impact randomized control trials. One thing is actually common to both types. First, both types use randomized sampling. So randomized sampling is you don't use any systematized or structured pattern in selecting your sample. Your samples are all randomly drawn from the population. So both of these types of randomized control trials draw your samples randomly. So if, for instance, you're choosing farmers, you choose the farmers randomly from a population of farmers. If you're choosing teachers, you choose them randomly from a population of teachers. You don't use any certain criteria to actually choose. Once you define the population group, you select your sample randomly. And then also, both types of randomized control trials assign variations in product or experience randomly. Now, let's look at the specific differences. In rapid fire randomized control trials, what that actually entails is, number one, a low cost modification to an existing product. And in this case, the data you use is largely administrative. So you use things like internal databases like usage logs, transaction history, click rates, adoption, etc. And then rapid fire randomized control trials, because they're actually sort of low touch and measurement activities, typically are limited to first order outcomes. So you're trying to measure things like uptake. You're trying to measure, sorry, somebody says I can't hear a thing. Is that the same for everybody? Can you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, Lesole can't hear me. Lerato rather can't hear me. Oh, sorry, Lerato, maybe you need to check your connection or your bandwidth. Sorry about that. Now, rapid fire randomized control trials are also limited to first order outcomes like adoption, take-up, or usage of the product in question. While welfare impact randomized control trials are actually a modification to an existing product or a creation of an entirely new product. In this case, administrative and survey data is used, which also includes household surveys. And here, beyond just measuring uptake and usage, you go a step further to actually measure outcomes like the impact of this product on income. You're trying to measure the impact of this product on consumption. You're also trying to measure to what extent is this product's usage or product's deployment creating demand for other complementary products or service offerings. To what extent is it influencing the consumption or the non-consumption of substitute products? So welfare impact randomized control trials are a bit more extensive and measure higher order impacts. Right? Next slide. Now, also, when you want to carry out evaluations, in randomized control trials, essentially what you want to do is you want to ensure that you have the population, or rather the sample drawn from the population, evenly split, where you have the program group on the one hand, and then you have the comparison group on the one hand. While the program group is made to adopt and utilize the product, the comparison group does not adopt or utilize the product. At the end of the treatment period, you now measure outcomes. And that means you could use administrative data, you could design surveys, etc. And essentially what you're trying to establish is to what extent has the use or non-use of this product created welfare impact or adoption or grown income, etc., depending, of course, on whether you're using the rapid fire or the welfare impact. Next slide. So I think I would hand over to Catherine now, right? Catherine, is this you?
Sure.
Great, great, great.
Great. So as Nneka mentioned, there are a lot of different ways that we can measure impact and evaluations. One of them, so the welfare RCTs, those are as mentioned, longer term outcomes. Those are outcomes where we're really looking at long-term health consequences, well-being, income, anti-poverty measurements. Those are usually very big projects. They usually involve maybe multiple villages or multiple towns or communities, even multiple schools. If we're looking at education impact, they can be very expensive and they can last for a number of years if you're really trying to measure long-term outcomes. However, these rapid fire tests are things that are much shorter term. They're much cheaper, they're much easier. And this is what the private sector typically uses. If you want to go to the next slide. So one that you've probably heard of are A/B tests. So these are a version of randomized control trials. The A and the B stands for the group A and group B, which is also the treatment or the comparison group. They're really designed to improve the, they're really quick. They're usually done in a short amount of time. You can do them in weeks or in months. And they're really designed to change really short-term outcomes. So things around product uptake. Maybe you notice that we had talked in our group about the savings commitment group. Maybe you notice that you have now launched this new product and there's very little acquisition of the product. Very few people are actually taking it up. So you could actually run an A/B test and see if you can change that impact. If you can change, I'm sorry, if you can change that outcome, if you can change whether there's an increase in the product usage, in the product take up or in the product usage. This is something that a lot of marketing strategies use. You and I and everybody has probably already experienced and been a part of an A/B test, and you probably haven't realized it. So for one example, all the tech companies really use it. Amazon, Facebook, Netflix, Google, they take information about you that they've already collected, and then they run different tests. In this example on the left, you can see there's like a little orange box versus a green box. And so people, if you say you visit the Facebook website, they will show you one variation of their website, and it's in the color orange, or it has some sort of a marketing campaign on it. So randomly, maybe I go to Facebook's website, they'll randomly assign me to one website, and then they'll see what happens. So they'll see whether or not I end up clicking on an image, whether or not I follow, I click multiple times, or I go through to a different page. They'll watch my behavior. Perhaps somebody else like Neckham goes to the exact same website, but he sees the green box. Again, they'll measure whether or not he clicks on that green box and whether or not he continues on to multiple pages on the website. So they can actually measure and track what you do. And this is a very typical marketing design. So if they're trying to test out which kind of marketing design, this is a very simple example of orange versus green, but a lot of times it's different messages. So, are you trying to send do you want to find out if people appeal more to an emotional campaign? Maybe it's an emotional campaign about how you want to save for your children's future versus a campaign that's more focused on the facts or being able to save a certain amount of interest rate. And by the end, your savings goal will be this much if you use this product. So you want to test out, does the emotional campaign attract more users and customers, or does the fact-based campaign have more users on that campaign? So you won't even know that you're a part of it. You'll go to the website, you'll see one, and you'll either act or you won't act. And this will give Facebook or whatever website a lot of data about you, and they'll tell you whether or not, or they'll learn whether or not their campaign has worked. So it's a very typical kind of marketing activity. Okay, the next slide. So there are a lot of benefits to this. One is that as Neckerman mentioned, it usually uses administrative data you already have. So in that example of trying to push different, trying to test out different website campaigns, that's data they already have. They know whether you click or not. They don't have to do a survey on you. They don't have to reach out to you and try to get a response. It's data that they already have anyway. They can use what they have. So it's very low cost in that sense. These are very easy things for them to measure, for them to have available to, be able to run these campaigns. They can actually run hundreds of them at the exact same time. So you can have, these huge sample sizes, you can have these really big experiments running on multiple platforms at multiple times, especially for these big tech companies, and it happens very, very quickly. These results are very fast. So they can set up these experiments and get results, like I said, in weeks or in months. It's not hard to measure, and it doesn't take a long time. More of the welfare randomized controls trials are a lot more time consuming, and they're much more difficult to measure. But A/B testing is very straightforward, and it's pretty quick. The next slide. But of course, there are limits. So it is a theoretical. There's not a lot of theory behind these. So you do not go and do an entire theory of change. You don't sit down and think through, okay, what are the inputs, the activities, what are the outputs, what are the outcomes, either long or long term, short term or long term. You don't think through all of those. You're really iterating very quickly. You're trying out a lot of different things, and you're testing to see whether it works. Now, when we do a bigger welfare RCT, we sit down and we really think through the theory of change. It's a very time-consuming process, and it's very important to make sure that we understand the assumptions that are baked into what we're trying to measure, so we can try to either avoid them or deal with them. But A/B testing, you don't do that. So the data that you get is not going to be as rich. You're not going to have as many long-term, you're not going to be able to measure long-term outcomes. You are going to be limited in the results that you can measure, and they will be in those short-term increments. Essentially, that means that you have small effects. So while you can really drive website traffic, or you can, change uptake or usage of a product, you're not going to be able to measure long-term income changes or long-term behavior changes. They're very limited in that kind of way. Also, depending on I mentioned, a lot of tech companies do this, like Facebook, and they have these massive sample sizes. I mean, this is a researcher's dream, to have not just hundreds of thousands, but hundreds of millions of people on these platforms. And you can run these experiments very easily, very quickly. And of course, these tech companies have a lot of money. So for the rest of us, there's a limitation that, we have budget limitations. We don't have those sample sizes. You do need to make sure you can't just run an A/B test on 2 people. You do need to actually do some calculations to make sure that you have enough of a sample size to adequately measure the results. So that is something you have to be aware of when running them. Okay, the next slide. I do want to take you through, other than just showing you how to drive website traffic, there is another good example out there. There are many of these examples, but one is around pensions. So this is actually an A/B test that was run partly by my organization, Innovations for Poverty Action. The website's at the bottom. You can look up the research, and in conjunction with the government and a local organization in Colombia, the country of Colombia in South America. And so there's a public pension system. Very few people use the public pension system. So you can, as any worker in the economy, whether you're formal or informal, you can voluntarily contribute to this pension system. And this is part of a bigger retirement project. But it is purely voluntary. You do not have to do it. And there's very low take up. I think overall, 80% of workers do not use the pension system. And it's even lower among the informal workers. So we wanted to change this. We wanted to really encourage retirement and encourage savings behavior for retirement. And one way in which we did this was to think through, are there ways that an SMS campaign can actually increase the amount that was saved by these informal service workers through this micropension account. So a couple of years ago, for just over the course of a few months, we ran an A/B test with different types of reminders. So again, this was very low cost because it didn't cost a lot to send out the text messages. We were able to send over 175,000 messages to we were able to send messages to 175,000 different users. And we also had a control group. So we had a comparison group. We sent messages to the treatment to see what would happen. And we compared that with a group that didn't receive any messages. And we had a lot of different types of messages and a lot of different types of content. So we could see all kinds of different effects. The next slide. So what we did see, I think, is really interesting. What we saw were, of those who were already saving, we could actually, so they were already active pension savers. They were already in the plan. We could change their behavior and have them save more. So these text reminders, which were, again, pretty low cost and pretty easy to achieve, helped to increase the amount that the savers were saving. So what we were able to see was that the people increased the amount that they were receiving, but when we compared it to the group that didn't receive any messages, we saw that we didn't increase new savers. So we didn't actually change behavior of people who were not saving at all. Even though they received these text messages, it didn't encourage them enough to start saving, but it did encourage the savers to continue and to increase their amount of savings. So we did see a difference there, a statistically significant difference. However, making phone calls on top of of the SMS messages actually were the most effective. So having a bit more of additional touch points. We talked about touch points at the beginning of this workshop a couple of days ago or last week, where if you increase the amount of touch points that you have, you increase your engagement with people, they're in this case, they were more likely to respond. So we could actually increase the amount of communication we had and again, change behavior. So we did see that there were changes in the lowest cost way of just the SMS messages. There were changes in savings. It was slightly more costly to actually make phone calls, but that also had an impact. So we see that these small nudges or these small types of behavioral interventions actually do have an effect. Okay, I guess the next slide. And so these were some of the indicators that were used during the program. We wanted to, the messages contain different types of messages. So we had messages that were geared towards like I mentioned, you could have an emotional campaign or you could have a fact-based campaign and test the difference. Here we had different levels of persuasion. So was there, happiness around the type of savings or the amount of the savings that you were going to make? Was it more of a negative campaign where if you don't save, these are the problems that are going to happen? Or is it more focused on like the coolness of the campaign? So we had different types of messages, and we could actually, as a result of creating these different messages, we could then test out which ones were the most effective. We also looked at a lot of different timing and sequencing. Do you send the message when people are getting up and getting ready and out the door in the morning? Maybe they're trying to get their kids ready for school. There's a lot of chaos in the morning and trying to get ready. That's probably not the opportune time to get a message about your retirement savings. Is it maybe on a Saturday afternoon when everybody is relaxing? If you get a message, then maybe you're more apt to hear it. Or perhaps in the evening, when you're relaxing, again, the kids are either in bed and you're on your phone and you're talking to your friends, maybe then is the opportune time. We also see that there are gender differences. So in the middle of the day, men are typically at work or at, running a shop or doing something that's outside of the home. Some women, if they might be at home taking care of the kids, we might see differences that they're more apt to open a text message and respond to it at that point in time. So we do see gender differences for timing of the day as well. So these are all the types of things that you can test out and you can learn from and figure out what, if these messages meet the objective of what you're trying to influence. Okay, the next slide. And there were a lot of things that we measured. There were a lot of indicators. So these are just more of them. But I think we can probably go on to. Yeah, so I can start us off, I guess. One of the things on this evaluation and measurement that I think is a really important key takeaway is to really match it with your objective. So we want to think about these prototypes that were developed, think about what your objective is, and the commitment savings program. Can others hear me? We seem to have some speaking issues now.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Maybe you can try logging off and logging back on again or something. But we're wrapping up, I think, so hopefully it's not too much longer. But the idea is to make sure that you really set out with what your objective is. What is your goal? If it's on a commitment savings product, then the goal would be around savings. You want to make sure that you're measuring that. You're measuring your target segment, you're measuring whether or not you reach them, whether or not the product works, or think through process indicators, how much the network is down, how much the product is available. And then you want to think about outcomes and certainly in the short term, how many active users you have, and in the long term. You're a customer-centric bank. You do want to make sure that your customers are satisfied and happy and that the products work for them at the end of the day. This obviously benefits the clients, but it also also benefits the bank in the sense that you now have a great relationship. It's, you know, as they always say, it's a lot easier to, you know, if you have a bad experience with a bank, you're going to tell, what is it, 10 people. If you have a good experience, you'll just tell 2. So the bad experiences cost you a lot, and you want to make sure that you develop a really good experience and relationship with your customers. It helps the bank in addition to the customers. So measurement is very important, both for you to understand what works and what doesn't for the products. And then it's really good to always think about to keep this customer-centric viewpoint when you are thinking about measurement and indicators, to make sure that the product does have these long-term effects that are intended. I think that wraps up the measurement.
Kate, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but it looks like a lot of us cannot hear you from our side. You can see you're talking, but we can't hear you.
That's not good. Is it just me, or like Ibukun, can they hear you?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you, Catherine.
Kate, I hear you clearly. I hear you clearly.
I can hear you.
I also can hear you. Have you used the modem more? Maybe you should try using the modem.
But I think I might, maybe someone else. I think I might be done. I don't know that I have to share anything more. Nekam, do you want to take it?
Yeah, you're actually done. You're done. You're done, actually. So I think I should just wrap up. We're already over time. So I think I have less than 10 minutes to wrap up. Can you all hear me? Please, can you show a sign that you can hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. What about other participants? Okay, I have a couple of hands up. So essentially, ladies and gentlemen, for HCD during inspiration, remember what HCD does and what HCD brings to the table powerfully is the boardroom, the voice of the customer into the boardroom. And during inspiration, you want to ask questions like, can my clients teach me something new about this problem? So remember, our current process is outside in. We create the product and then we push the product and force the product on the customer. We actually want to evolve and adopt a new process inside out. Komotso, can you speak? Komotso, your hand is up. Okay, I guess that's a wrong hand. So I'll just go ahead. Now, I said earlier, can my clients teach me something new about this problem? What behavioral biases could actually be at play? You know, how are these biases actually impacting or affecting or influencing my understanding of this problem? Could it be my own personal biases, or could it be institutional biases as to how this problem is understood, conceptualized, and typically addressed in my institution or in my industry? Now, the next question you want to ask during inspiration is, what specific segments are affected? Does it affect women? Does it affect women and youth? Does it affect women in a particular region more than women in other regions? Does it affect people that have a certain occupation? And then the third question is, what does their journey look like? I think we did customer journey mapping on day one. You know, you want to ask that question. What happens throughout the entire buyer experience cycle, from acquisition to use to disposal, you know, even at the level of awareness? And then the next question is, what are the pain points? As we move through the entire customer journey, where do we feel pain? And how can those pain points be addressed or resolved? Ibu, can we have the next slide? Now, during ideation, you want to ask questions like, how many ideas can we come up with to solve this problem? So remember, in HCD, very wild ideas are strongly encouraged. So think outside the box, think as if there is no box. And do not be constrained or limited by happenings in your industry, happenings in your institution, the amount of resources you have, the amount of resources you can leverage. Be a lot more focused on being creative in solving the problem for the customer. And then also ask, of all of these ideas and potential solutions, which of them are most feasible? And what would that ultimate endpoint solution look like? How exciting or not exciting will the solution look? And what exactly are the changes I need to make to actually make the solution a lot more useful and a lot more exciting? Next slide. Ibuku, can we have the next slide? Now, the next question we should ask during implementation are next steps. How will this solution lead us to creating new solutions? Can we refine this existing solution based on the insights we've gotten? So remember, HCD is incredibly iterative. You have to keep thinking, asking, iterating, enhancing, optimizing, and improving your solution. Is there actually a scope to evaluate the impact of this product on our customers? If there is no scope, can we create one? Can we think about all the other options, all the other nuances, and all the other enhancement opportunities? Next slide. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of IPA and Lagos Business School, it's been our pleasure, it's been our privilege working with you all on this very, very, very incredibly exciting journey. We can't wait to see all of these ideas come to life. We can't also wait to see you pick up these tools, pick up these skills, and pick up these capabilities as you go through your journey in reviewing your existing products and even creating new products. We can't wait to see you evaluate these products and then come back to tell us stories of the impact of these products, both on you as LPB, as well as on your customers and, you know, on their livelihoods. For me personally, and for the entire team at LBS and IPA, it's been a privilege working with you all. You've really been very distinguished participants, and we've had an incredibly exciting time working with you all. Thank you so much. I'll hand over to Catherine now to give any closing remarks.
Sure. No, I just want to say the same. Thank you so much for all of your participation, for your level of commitment. I really appreciate all of the ideas that people generated, all of the questions that were asked. You know, is really great to be a part of this entire journey that we've just gone through in the workshop. You know, the e-learning platform is still available. It will be open for quite some time. You're free to download all of the materials that are up there and use them. We've given a lot of materials. So as Bokane had mentioned at the beginning, if you're interested in learning more, there's much more out there to learn. Just simple Google searches will open it all up. I think a lot of the resources we've given include well-respected organizations that do this kind of work all the time. So you can always, you know, do more research and understand those organizations. And we're happy to continue to be here to answer any other questions. If you want to reach out and, you know, talk about any of the prototypes or designs. Additionally, you know, we're happy to help. MCC, the funder that quickly joined for a few minutes this morning, is very involved in Lesotho and very involved and interested in continuing this type of relationship. So I think you'll, you know, there's more to come is what I'm saying. This won't be the end of of the work. So there are plenty more resources if you want to continue this. We can leave this open, I think, for a few minutes and answer any questions that people might have. And then I don't know if Manuel or Ibukun, if you want to talk about the certificate and the next steps for people to receive their certificate.
Yeah, I think Ibuku will take that. Ibuku, what are the next steps for the certificate?
Okay, so I think there are a few what they call them, like a mini end of workshop quiz that would be given. I'm not sure on the exact details because Mario is the one who's managing that process, but the requirements for the certificates will be communicated, and if anyone is still yet to fulfill those requirements, they will be notified on what exactly is outstanding for them, and but that will be communicated via the platform and also via email.
I think I've lost Ibuku now. I can't hear you.
In terms of time, what are we looking at? But after a month, maybe? Or when you say the requirements would be communicated, are we going to do tests, assignment? I hope I understood or I had to.
Yeah, so for the requirements for the certificate, it depends on Emmanuel, but usually there is an end of workshop like quiz. It's mostly just to refresh our memories, everything that we've done through these 4 days would be required, would be the questions. They are just multiple choice questions. You just sort of select A, B, C, or D. Maybe about, I don't know how many questions there will be, but usually
but it's not usually a complicated process. It's quite simple. Trust me on that. It's quite straightforward. I mean, you've done the hard work, you've done the heavy lifting, you've attended the program. Would actually confirm to you if that would be a requirement for getting your certificate. Go ahead, Ibuku.
Yeah, exactly. So that whatever is still, I think you guys have submitted your prototypes, which is one of the requirements, and all groups have submitted. So that's one box tick. So whatever is, that's why I said whatever is left, or whatever is left outstanding would be communicated probably before the end of the week, and then you'd have sufficient time to be able to respond to whatever is outstanding, and then you would all get the access to those certificates in due time. It shouldn't take too long, 2-3 weeks tops.
And then I think we also have an evaluation, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, the evaluation is sort of like a quiz. It's just a bunch of questions to test their knowledge on what they gained throughout this 4 days. The platform will be open, so you can revisit everything that's been done. You can revisit even your worksheets, all the things you've worked on. They will all be accessible via the platform. So it's something you can always come back to. Even for the evaluation, you can still reference those materials to be able to get as high scores as possible.
So we'll send out the information about the evaluation, the little quiz, and the certificates.
Yes, definitely. Everyone will be notified.
And you can access all of the material on the e-learning platform, and that'll be open for quite some time. Are there any other questions about the workshop or anything else?
Nothing from me other than goodbye. Have a wonderful day. Bye from me.
Again, thank you.
I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed. Guys, are we gonna be quiet like that? Now I have so much to say about the workshop. Kate, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It has been such an eye opener. We were all, or at least in my group 3, we were worried about the amount of time that we spend. That we only realized later that everything felt like a rush, you know. And I also said, now I understood why you, at the beginning, you were saying, probably if it could take a solid week, you know, an intense workshop like that. But unfortunately, the business demands would not allow us to handle it in that fashion. But nevertheless, it has been such a well of knowledge that and experience and wisdom that was shared. I hope and pray that we get access to you guys for some time, that you could iron out, get more clarity and things explained to a point where we would have a final product that you can present and say, from this workshop, this is what we came up with. Then we would say success has been reached.
That would be the ultimate goal, of course. Yes. And no, I'm here, so I'm happy to, respond as needed and, provide additional connections to other resources and other things like that. You know, we want to make sure that you're, we're not just dropping you off at this point in time, but that this is the beginning of a new process. And, I think, I was sad that we had to do this online. I would have preferred in person. You actually see everybody moving and it's a bit more like physical. People get up, you have Post-it notes, you're putting things on the wall, and you actually build prototypes and you can pass them around. And so I'm very sad that we had to, for obvious reasons, we're committed to producing this and trying to get the information to you in the best way possible. But it is too bad that we had to do this online. So normally in person, this is a bit, you would see, I think the experience is a bit different. So it did take us, we did spread this out so that people had a chance to consume the information and kind of let it sit. And you can think about it a bit more and work in teams and groups. So I hope that that was still very valuable to be able to learn all of this information in a new way. But as a result, we have these, our amazing collaborators from Lagos, which we might not have been able to bring to the field. And so I think that we were able to offer services online that we couldn't have in person. But there are, I hope that it was still informative and helpful, and we're really excited that this went as well as it did. So thank you for everybody's commitment.
Yeah, thank you to you as well and your facilitators. You guys are wonderful. Thank you. We felt like we were in a real contact class. So it's awesome like that. I appreciate it.
And I think someone has their hand raised. Let's see who it is. Yeah, go ahead. Are there any questions or other comments?
Okay, it's not a question. It's just that what I've learned is that in order to be in business, we need to come up with the solutions for the consumers or the customers. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, no, that's really the cornerstone of human-centered design, is to center it around people. So if you solve people's pain points, you're not only impacting them, but you're also impacting your business. And it's a competitive advantage. If you're thinking about it differently than other organizations are, you've got a head up, and you'll be able to do things that others can't. Okay, well, again, thank you very much, everybody. We'll stick around online for a few more minutes if there are any other questions.
Thank you.
Well, not from me. Thank you very much.